Hello everybody in the chess world, and today we're gonna talk about getting lucky in chess. So I'm gonna show you a game of mine. This well, I played a long ago. So yes, I'll show you my game in which you'll see how lucky I was. It's also a good memory for me because it was the first time that I had beaten a FIDE master. So the reason why I wanted today to do this video is, I cannot tell you how often I've heard this thing about a player loses and in the post-mortem he or she, they're like, I wasn't lucky, or my opponent was super lucky. And yeah, maybe, well, they'll argue that they had a beautiful position but too little time on the clock, or that they were, they took actions in this really long calculation and they entered the line. The opponent probably saw nothing about that, but the opponent maybe just landed on the right move because in the end there was a surprise and blah, blah, blah. So, and yeah, a lot of times these aren't bad excuses for having lost. Sometimes they are valid excuses. I do believe there is such thing as being lucky or unlucky in chess. This is another thing that is important for me. I think that, well, people tend to say chess is a perfect game, so there is no luck involved. I think that sort of statement comes more from excessive love to the game, excessive love to the game, like, yeah, trying to make it something more epic than it really is, than, from something that it's authentic, because just having a good or a bad day, it's already a luck factor, like or a fortune factor for a game of chess. Then there are positions that are more comfortable for you or for your opponent, and yeah, you can search for those, but sometimes, yeah, you just land on those. So okay, without further ado, I'll show you the game. Well, and as usual, no names, as my opponent might not want to mention. But okay, I think this was one of those cases. My opponent, it was a much stronger player than myself, but he had a bad day. This happens. So I was black. He started with e4. I played g6, d4, bishop g7, knight c3, d6, g3. So far, everything as planned. I had prepared the Pirc defense for this game, and I did expect him to. I had prepared the Fianchetto variation, g3. There were a few games on the database. Apparently, this is what he used to play. So, knight f6, bishop g2, castles, knight g2, everything main line, e5. Well, here, already on move 7, I think I got my first, kind of lucky moment, because my opponent played castles here. And, well, the database says this is like the second most played move, so I guess there's nothing really wrong with this move. But I had only prepared h3. And you could think, well, that is unlucky. You had prepared something and your opponent plays something else. Yeah, but I actually thought that h3 was the only move because of a particular positional reason that I'll show you, guys. But so I actually thought that castles was the wrong move and that I will be already either better or just equal out of the opening with black, even having a preferable position. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But first, I'll show you what I had prepared. I thought that h3 was the only move because it's the typical move that prevents knight g4. So that means that if I do play knight c6, like what I had prepared, white has bishop e3. This was the only thing that I had prepared. Like, to me, h3 is necessary, so white can be stable on the center. And I had prepared a concrete line that I'll show you in case you're interested. Pawn takes, knight takes, bishop d7, developing and trying not to get double pawns on c6. And then I thought, I started the main line that went something like castles, rook e8, rook e1. And now again, I had prepared something kind of like to force my opponent because it's really straightforward. So I thought this was probably going to happen because here knight takes, forces bishop takes, and c5 which initially looks like the worst move ever, right? White just plays naturally bishop e3, and now we have this backward d6 pawn that has no future advancing. The d5 square in front of him is totally controlled by white, so yeah, nothing to do there. But bishop c6, okay, this is an obvious move. We protect the d6 pawn and attack on e4, but bishop e4 does the same, right? Now the rook is protecting the e-pawn, and they are hitting our d6 pawn. And again, this is the theoretical move that actually surprised me a little bit. I was like, but here, this looks awful, right? I mean, I still have the backward pawn. I don't know what to do. But rook e6 is a beautiful theoretical line. This was my prep, because we're not only solidifying our d6 pawn, we're vacating the e8 square for our queen. So our plan is to continue with queen e8 and rook d8, which is quite safe and quite cool. That will give harmony to our pieces. We'll have all the pieces active, having still some pressure over the e-file, and I like that. I thought, like, for example, queen d3, queen e8, and this was roughly my prep. So going back to the game, when he played castles, well, I kind of blitzed out knight c6, and I was like, well, now he cannot play bishop e3. That will be awful, because I just have knight g4 and be much better. So that means white will have to define the situation on the center, and they're going to have to do that by either taking on e5, against which I guess I'll just play d takes e5 and be equal out of the opening, or, well, I think I can even take it with a knight, or what he did in the game, which was d5. And against d5, I just played knight e7, and I thought, well, whatever white plays, I don't even care. I'm just going to continue with c6. c6 is going to create a pressure, an unbearable pressure on the center, because there is no c4. The c4, the c-pawn, it's blocked by the knight. So, in fact, he played bishop g5, and I played c6, and I was so happy, because now, well, he had to take on c6. If he doesn't, I'm just going to take on the center. And when I do that, well, he's eventually going to have to take with the pawn. And that will mean that my e5 pawn is mobile. It can advance. So at some point, I'll move this knight and play f5. Everything looked fine. So he took, I recapture, queen d2, rook b8, b3. Okay. White did nothing wrong. This is why I'm really talking about having this luck. White did nothing wrong, and this position is fine for white, I'm sorry. But with black, I was already very confident, because I thought they had done something wrong. I thought I have a really big center here. Okay, of course, it's not like I thought that I was winning or anything, but I was feeling really fine and confident. In fact, I started, during the game, I played much faster than my opponent. He was taking a lot of time. So, okay, just a last detail about the opening for those of you who are interested in this position. It is true that I'm going to play c6, but bishop g5 shouldn't be the most testing move. I guess the most testing move was to throw f4, which makes a lot of sense. White will think, since black is about to play c6, and break open my center, why not playing f4 and asking myself, before he does, like, well, what do you want to do with the center? Just putting pressure. But okay. We had this position, but I'll skip. This was move 11. I'll skip to move 25, in which we have this position, and it was his turn. So another factor in which I was lucky is that here he already had less than half an hour, and I had like an hour 15. I had a large advantage on the clock, which is good psychologically, because it's not like half an hour is too little time for him to play, but he will feel the pressure, and he played here the move that I was expecting, queen a5, simply hitting the a7 pawn. This is quite obvious. And I remember here thinking, well, what do I do? I mean, I guess the most logical, natural move will be to play rook d7, but then he has knight c5. And what do I do here, right? Like, I don't know, obvious rook c7 receives this double, and I'm losing. So I guess going back here, I was kind of looking at rook b7, because, well, now with knight c5, I guess I can have rook c7, you know, I don't know. But I didn't really like this at all. I think that I even consider something like c5 here, you know, like sacrificing the pawn just to get some activity. But again, I had a lot of time, and I sank into thought. And after a few minutes, I realized, wait a minute. Wait. If I play rook d7, knight c5 is just not possible. Knight c5 now it's a blunder. I remember thinking like, And a few seconds went by, and I even thought like, well, the reason why now knight c5 is a big blunder is not so obvious. I mean, he could fall into that sort of a trap. And obviously he did, you know, I'm talking about a game in which I'll get lucky. But, okay, I did play rook d7, which I was, again, really happy because I was like, okay, I'm playing a move that is right, but that it also has some sort of cheapo, if you will. And not so cheap, by the way. As I said before, he fell into the trap knight c5. It has to be said that c3 was a big advantage for him. If I remember correctly, we both saw this move and thought that queen c7 might be a good defense, because if white exchanges the queens and then exchanges pawn on d4, well, at least my f6 bishop might get open, but I think this was still a large advantage for him. But anyway, he played knight c5, double question mark, and now, this is the moment where I'll ask you all to stop the video and think, because, you know, again, do you think it's really obvious, the refutation that I had? It might be, and it might be easier because I told you that there is something here, but okay, again, Pausethevideoandthink. Yes, rook b5 is, well, kind of winning here. So yeah, we are attacking the queen and the knight at the same time, and of course that b5 square was controlled by the bishop, and he did take it, but the problem is he missed this intermediate move, where now the b5 bishop cannot go away because he has the hanging queen on a5, and that means that I will win 2 pieces for the rook, and it's enough to be, well, basically winning. However, let us see how the game continued, because I wasn't done having luck. You know, I already was really lucky. You know, a strong player, blundering something simple, problems on the clock. But the game followed c4, pawn takes, b4, queen b6, pawn takes. Okay, here he was really low on the clock. So again, another factor really in my favor. So I play bishop g5, which, yeah, initially is just basically doing 2 obvious things. One is to hit the queen on c1, and the other one is allowing a possible f5 throw for me, which I might want. Another idea that I had that I'm showing here with the arrows is the possibility of playing queen f6, maybe then playing queen f3, you know, harassing his king, hitting the e-pawn, trying to make f5 a stronger break, okay, etc. Again, he was really low on the clock. He played rook c4. So, first I played queen f6. And again, I am kind of hinting some queen f3. And, you know, when we have a lot of pressure on the clock, it's really normal to blitz out moves that seem like really practical. But they might be terrible mistakes. And this was the case because he blitzed out rook d3. Probably the most logical move. You know, it's like saying, okay, I am preventing queen f3, and by the way, I'm trying to stop already this pass d pawn, you know, to block that pawn. But yeah, I just blitz out my answer, which I hadn't even seen before. Just queen e6, you know, just hitting the c4 rook, enabling back the f5, you know, pawn break. And that f5 is now stronger because, you know, the rook is on d3. Again, all the pieces on the light squares, it was like, well, now it's even easier, right? So he just went away. f5, again, he was playing basically with the seconds. f3, I can even introduce this check. He played king h1. I took on e4. He didn't even bother recapturing that. I think he was trusting this. Well, rook d1, pawn takes. He saw this b6 that he played, some sort of, last try. Well, the idea is that if I take with the queen, well, at least he has queen takes e5. And against a takes b6, which I did play on the game, well, he thought at least I give this check and take the most dangerous pawn. But of course, he's totally lost here. So I wanted to show you like my last lucky break, because okay, here I'm 100% sure that e4 must be the best move, but I already went kind of into lazy mode, like, I play queen d5, like let us exchange queens and have an easy really easy ending. King g2, and well, here again, if there's a move that a good player will never do here, is queen takes queen, because they're already pinned. But I thought, I'll do it just to bring my knight into d5. I was like, well, this is really easy, and now I'll just play knight d5, so yeah, it's fine. But look at this, knight d5, anyway, king, I went back to go to c3, he took knight c3, rook e1, and yeah, again, I must be like, I don't know, +5, +6, +7 here. But I can assure you, I had not seen before that in this position, I even had a mating net. So yeah, even with that clue and everything, if you want, you can pause the video and think. Yeah, I thought it was king f7, and now rook d5 is going to be checkmate, because I just, took e6, the e6 square, out of the possibilities for his king. And well, he resigned here. I guess rook takes bishop will be the only try, because, well, if he gives a check, king e7 is the same thing. I'm still about to play rook d5 mate. So, well, as you saw, a totally lucky day. My opponent had a bad day. He was thinking a lot. He was probably wasting a lot of time in information that turned out to be not so useful for the game itself. That this happens. Sometimes we're kind of, wandering, in our thoughts, and well, it might be just not enough, and that ends up being a big problem, because already with a losing position, having to play with the last seconds, it's not advisable. So again, a cheerful, happy video. So remember, for all those times where you thought, well, I was really unlucky, I'm tired of that, be true to yourselves and think about it, and you'll realize that you had some luck in a lot of games as well, and that happens luckily for all of us in chess too. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.